I want you to think to yourself, when did this country and its government last work for you? Perhaps the most utterly frustrating thing of living in the modern era is the lack of greatness. Our grandfathers put a man on the moon. Their fathers built the Hoover Dam. Their fathers constructed the Panama Canal. Their fathers tamed the West. The Russian rocket scientist Konstantin Tsiolkovsky remarked, "The Earth is the cradle of humanity, but mankind cannot stay in the cradle forever." Our society is more technologically advanced than it has ever been before, and every day the train of progress marches onward. But this disguises the truth of where our society is heading, the road our elites have chosen for us, and who will be left behind in this new world. Ever since the fall of the Soviet Union, we've been left in a malaise of mediocrity as time continues to tick by, leaving American greatness in the past. Even sometimes today, we envision great things in our future, space travel, Mars colonization, but we seem to have subconsciously resigned ourselves to the idea that we will never live to see our destiny in the heavens made manifest. If whites and blacks can't peacefully coexist, what good is Mars? If veterans are destitute and left homeless in the street, what good is the ISS? If we're pouring trillions of dollars into feudal nation-building exercises half a world away, what good is our higher calling? Just like we have come to take our nation and livelihoods for granted, we have also come to take mediocrity as a given. But the truth is, we don't have to, because there is the capacity for greatness within all of us, and a people that is collectively strong, as the American people historically have been, will have nothing to fear in life. The mediocrity extends to our politicians too, who, after being elected, largely proceed to do nothing with their offices, but hoard power and illegally enrich themselves while making dishonest excuses to their voters as to why they can't solve their problems. Originally, the challenger the Republican Party would nominate to face Mark Kelly seemed obvious. Congressman Andy Biggs, chair of the Freedom Caucus, was gearing up for a run for Senate by all accounts, but Biggs has bowed out, as did 4th District Congressman Paul Gosar, leaving the race wide open for Attorney General Mark Brnovich, a man no more significant than any Republican you can ever think of. That was until Blake Masters, the COO of Thiel Capital and president of the Thiel Foundation, entered the race. Peter Thiel is a billionaire who co-founded PayPal and was the first outside investor in Facebook, who was also an early backer of Donald Trump's presidential campaign, becoming the first openly gay man to speak at the RNC in 2016, and also a supporter of Chris Kobach's failed Senate bid last year, and a key financial backer of Missouri University law professor Josh Hawley's bid for Attorney General of Missouri in 2016. The emerging ideology that takes his name, Thielism, is, put simply, a statement against mediocrity and everything that fosters it. Thiel, a former libertarian, now rejects the religious worship of the free market. It's no surprise, then, that Thiel gave $10 million to the campaign of his former protege Blake Masters, who compiled the lecture notes that would later form the basis of Thiel's masterwork on business and entrepreneurship, 0 to 1. Masters had previously considered a 2020 primary challenge to Martha McSally because he knew her to be the weak candidate that many of us saw after her entirely preventable defeat to Senator Kyrsten Sinema in 2018. Seeing an uphill battle ahead of him, that challenge never materialized, and Masters will now be left to pick up after McSally and finally ground Mark Kelly once and for all. The massive campaign donations received from Peter Thiel led many to go on the attack mode against Blake Masters, accusing his campaign of being astroturfed and funded by an out-of-state oligarch, not dissimilar to George Soros, funding at district attorneys in our nation's largest cities. But to anyone who knows Thiel, these remarks ring hollow. Just as Blake Masters said when asked, it's about time that we have someone on our side, willing to put up massive amounts of their own assets in order to bankroll the campaigns of our candidates. The wisdom that is prevailing on the right, embodied by the rise of not just Masters, but also J.D. Vance, Joe Kent, Patrick Witt, and the rest of the Thielists, is that limited government cannot be our goal. Rather, an effective government that is free of corruption. After all, limited government didn't put a man on the moon. Limited government didn't build the Hoover Dam. Limited government didn't build the Panama Canal or tame the West. The American people, led by a strong and effective government and effective ruling class, did. To resign ourselves to the principle of libertarian governing ideals means surrendering the ideas that we need to save this country and secure its future for our posterity in the pursuit of tax breaks for businesses and billionaires that hate us and furthering the degradation of actually tangible institutions such as the family. Our current society is one where it is nearly impossible to raise a family on a single income, and simultaneously one where recognizing that as the drain on our societal fabric that it has proven to be, leads to accusations of sexism and misogyny. The war on children in this country have led to millions of kids growing up in broken homes with absent parents, or ones addicted to opioids or living in poverty. Them being taught to hate themselves in our country and this nation's schools, and them being indebted and trapped in predatory college systems that are designed to extract every last dollar possible from them and their parents. If our government's de facto position is that our children are unworthy of dignity, then why should we be surprised when they embrace socialism, the only alternative that has been articulated to them, the only alternative they know to the society dominated by corporate interests that we live in the present day. Rank-and-file Republican politicians who have been members of the establishment for their entire careers in politics, like Mark Brnovich, have never had the answers in the past, so it would be erroneous to suggest that they have them now. Brnovich's career is one of mediocrity, and his stint in the Senate would almost certainly be marred by it as well. Instead, we're told that we need to come together around him because he's the best candidate to defeat Mark Kelly. The false song of electability is the chief argument in the establishment playbook to dissuade populists from lining up behind candidates actually willing to take on the corrupt status quo and seeking to build a better world free of mediocrity. These same people are those who supported Rubio and Kasich in 2016 over Trump, hiding behind fake concerns of electability in order to continue to push the establishment's agenda. Just as Rubio or Kasich would not have shifted the fabled Overton window to the right whatsoever, Mark Brnovich would not shift the Senate's delegation to the right whatsoever. If Rubio had won instead of Trump, perhaps we would have won a few more states. Perhaps we would have won the popular vote, but the steps that have set us down the road to freeing our nation never would have been taken, and we would be stuck in the same uniparty system that Donald Trump has fought against since he came down the escalator during the summer of 2015. If Brnovich wins his race, then Masters will not have the opportunity to take up the torch of Trumpism and propel us into the future. There are two paths for that future, a prestigious one and a humiliating one. I propose that for the latter, it matters not whether Mark Brnovich defeats Mark Kelly or not, because their ideas will lead us to the same place. A concept that is to be found in Masters and Thiel's book 0 to 1 is the notion of what one leader, a founder, is capable of doing all on his lonesome. A unique founder can make authoritative decisions, inspire strong personal loyalty, and plan ahead for decades. You can see this in business, where great men often make great entrepreneurs, but also in politics because business and politics are not as different as some may believe. In the words of President Trump, it's the outsiders who change the world, and the outsiders who make a real difference. It will always take an outsider, say, a young man of 35, who spent his life to this point working with one of the most brilliant businessmen and investors that this country has ever produced, to right the frigate that the captains of our ship of fools, in their own decadence and power drunkenness, have steered into the rocks. Just as mankind will not stay in its cradle forever, we will not stand on the sidelines forever, looking in at the institutions that used to work for those like us. We do not forget the words of our Constitution's preamble, "We the people," and we the people, in order to form a more perfect union, declare that 2022 shall be the year of the Thielists, the year of Vance, Witt, Kent, Hawley, and Masters, the year that the historians of the future will know as the beginning of an American Renaissance.